Yeah, today we're going to talk about the 1993 classic Tombstone. Definitely a favorite of mine. I mean, if I had I was just thinking about if I had like maybe a top 100 films with this. I don't even know why like this film is not in IMDb's top 250. Now that I'm thinking about it, like why isn't this film in the top 250 of IMDb? That's one of those things why I don't really pay much attention to their top 250. I think there's a lot of films that deserve to be in that top 250. Rocky's not even in the top 250. But I don't mind taking, more time talking about Tombstone. It's a favorite of mine. It's a classic, and there's a lot to talk about here with this movie that deserves to be mentioned. So the story here, you have Wyatt Earp in the film, played by Kurt Russell. Him and his brothers. You have Morgan, played by Bill Paxton, and Virgil, played by Sam Elliott. They've left their gunslinging ways behind to, settle down in Tombstone, where they can, start a business. And they're not looking for trouble, but soon trouble finds them when they become targets of a cowboy gang. So now they have to defeat this gang, and that's pretty much the story here. The cast here, I mean, what an excellent cast. And it's just soaring with star power from top to bottom. I mean, you got Kurt Russell in the film, you got Val Kilmer, which, his performance as Doc Holliday, he should have been nominated for an Oscar. He was never nominated. To me, he should have won. He should have won the Oscar for Doc Holliday. Such a great performance. You also have Sam Elliott in the film. You have Bill Paxton, rest in peace. You have Powers Booth as Curly Bill, another great actor, underrated actor. Sadly, Powers Booth is no longer around. But, I mean, he's been in many films. Rapid Fire with Brandon Lee. He was the bad guy in Sudden Death with Van Damme. Great actor. Michael Biehn as Johnny Ringo. Another, iconic, character from this movie. And apparently in almost every close-up of Johnny Ringo, Michael Biehn never blinks. I just wanted to throw that in there, but yeah, he doesn't blink until near the end of the film. But Michael Biehn as Johnny Ringo. Charlton Heston appears in the film, and I forgot he's in this movie. But Charlton Heston, he's in there for a little bit, a small part, but looking back, I think he should have had more of a bigger part. I mean, you got such a big cast here, and you got a Charlton Heston. I mean, like I said, I think he should have had a little bit more. Stephen Lang as Ike. You have Thomas Hayden Church in the film as Billy. Billy Bob Thornton appears in the film. Billy Zane is in the movie. Frank Stallone appears in the film. Terry O'Quinn. Narration by Robert Mitchum. I mean, such a powerhouse of a cast. And everybody does a great job, again, from top to bottom. Even some of the, actors in here that have small parts. I mean, John Corbett is in here for a little bit. Michael Rooker. I almost forgot to mention them, but yeah, Michael Rooker, he's in here for a little bit. Like, it's such a great cast, and everybody's roles stood out. I mean, especially Val Kilmer's performance. Now, in terms of direction here, so this is kind of where we get into a little bit of history, of what we know now. And I know that some of you watching out there are quite aware. So originally, they had brought in Kevin Gerard to direct, the guy who wrote the screenplay. And this guy, well, now he's since passed away, but prior to this movie, he wrote the screenplay for Glory and some other stuff. And he was hired, but he got overwhelmed by the job, fell behind schedule, and he was fired. So then they brought in George P. Cosmatos. Now, George P. Cosmatos, prior to Tombstone, had directed a few movies. Of Unknown Origin, which I still have to see that movie. He also directed First Blood Part 2, but I've heard that that could have been Stallone. Same thing with Cobra. Did George P. Cosmatos direct the film, or was it Sly? I mean, I've heard different things. I'm just kind of guessing here without looking it up. He also directed Leviathan, which is a great movie. So he's a great director. He was brought in, but apparently he was very demanding. There was a lot of conflicts on set, and that's when Kurt Russell stepped in for directing duties, and George P. Cosmatos was a ghost director. George P. Cosmatos, he concentrated more on historical detail, costumes, scenery. I think more of the filmmaking aspect. And I think Kurt Russell, if I had to assume here, Kurt Russell was more, about the actors involved, and George was kind of, shadowing, Kurt. But that's kind of, again, what we know now about the movie, that Kurt Russell, really directed it. But whatever the case, it's wonderfully directed. I know that Kurt Russell apparently didn't want to be credited, for directing this movie and taking over. But, you have to give credit where credit is due. I mean, he did a wonderful job with this movie. So wonderful direction here. But what I really enjoyed about the film here, again, the cast, the performances, the star power, I talked about earlier. The quotes. Everybody remembers every Doc Holliday quote in this movie. I'm your Huckleberry. You got the scene where, he's laying in bed talking to Wyatt Earp, and they're having a conversation. And, Wyatt Earp's like, what makes a man like Ringo, Doc? What makes him do the things he does? A man like Ringo has got a big hole right in the middle of him. He can never kill enough, or steal enough, or inflict enough pain to ever feel it. What does he need? Revenge. For what? Being born. I can't do that Doc Holliday accent, but, Val Kilmer just... Again, he should have won the Oscar. And you all know the scene where, he confronts Johnny Ringo. Why, Johnny Ringo? Looks like somebody just walked over your grave. My fight's not with you, Holliday. I beg to differ, sir. We started a game we never got to finish. Play for blood, remember? Oh, I was just fooling about. I wasn't. Then again, I wish I could do that Doc Holliday accent, but also, too, I have to mention wonderful score by Bruce Broughton. It definitely brings this grand and larger-than-life feel to the movie that puts you in that time period. Now, originally, they wanted Jerry Goldsmith. He was attached at one point to provide the score, but he had to bow out due to scheduling conflicts. Can you just imagine what kind of score, Jerry Goldsmith would have had for this movie? But this is still beautifully composed by Bruce Broughton. Also, too, the cinematography by William Fraker. It's a beautiful looking film, with beautiful locations. And I know it was filmed in Arizona, but I don't know if it was filmed in actual Tombstone. Maybe I should have looked it up, but just great, locations and strong production value. I mean, everything is real. It feels like the Old West. It's tangible, and it puts you in that time period. And great shootouts. With the OK Corral, and you got the bit where they're at the creek and Wyatt Earp, kills Curly Bill. Just great scenes, iconic scenes. But overall, Tombstone, it's an excellent film with a phenomenal cast, memorable performances, great score, strong production value, and it's just a it's a classic. It's a classic of the 90s. And one of the finest Westerns ever filmed, in my opinion. And out of 5 stars, I'm going to give this 5 stars. Like I said, it's a favorite of mine and a classic. So that's my review of Tombstone. Thank you for watching, and have a good day. Just want to give a quick shout out to director-screenwriter Richard. Thank you for being a patron and supporting my channel. For anyone that would like to support the channel, I'll leave a link down below to my PayPal in the description box. There you can request any of the following. You can be a movie review, movie topic or discussion, fan commentaries, live commentaries, thoughts on a TV show, rants, and much more. And any amount you want to donate there is fine. It's kind of a tip jar. And there's my Patreon for those that would like to be credited in videos. I have Patreon for crediting right now, and I'm also on Twitter at TheZeroPool. For those that would like to follow me on Twitter, where I talk about movies, what I'm watching, and much more. But thank you guys for watching, and have a good day.